the heavyweight champion of the world, the WBC version, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute. On the line with me, I have another former world champion, multiple times world champion in a different striking art. That is Muay Thai, former world champion Andre McIntyre. Andre, are you there? Andre, are you hearing us?
I'm here.
Here he is, yes. Thank you for joining me. Thank you very much. And just set the rumours straight for the fans. Are you a former Muay Thai? Are you current? What's happening?
No, I'm semi-retired now, so I'm former.
Well, you're like a dormant volcano. You never know when it might erupt again.
Explode, that's right. Yeah.
You never know. And people that have followed this channel will know that I was with you a year ago when you were back in the octagon under the K1 rule set. I know that's not your favourite rule set, but you've competed in multiple striking arts. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
And
mainly Muay Thai, but okay. I've also competed under K1.
Okay. Yeah, and we could talk all night about what the rules of K1 are or not. They vary from promotion to promotion, apparently. But under the Queensberry rules, Tyson Fury has won the WBC belt, the World Boxing Council belt. You fought for the Muay Thai version under the same
correct
banner. And I was saying earlier, just before we got on air, that James Toney said that WBC stands for We Be Crooks. I thought the WBC belt is the most prestigious belt in boxing. People talk about the alphabet soup of belts. You've got the WBC, the WBA, IBF, the WBO that came later. As far as I'm concerned, that green belt has always been the most sought after. But why do you think the corporation is corrupt? Why do they have that reputation?
Well, first of all, why do we consider that belt to be the most prestigious? It's funny. I think we all have, but I don't actually understand 100% why. I used to think it was because it was the first boxing organisation, but that's not actually true.
WBA was. WBA, yeah. I believe that the WBC split in 1963. But throughout the 60s, it didn't really get split up until later because the WBA and the WBC belt seemed to go hand in hand, and the champion was the champion. When Ali fought Fraser in the first time and Fraser defeated him, that settled it. There was one world champion. And then when Fraser lost to George Foreman, he was the champion, and then Muhammad Ali defeated him eventually, and the belts were back in his hand. Right. I think we didn't get a confusion until later. Do you think there should be only one champion, or is it quite fun to watch the belts be chased after across the world?
It depends on how much of a purist you are with the sport. Personally, I think there should be only one belt. There should be one belt. I think there should be an intercontinental belt. Okay,
as like the tier below, yeah?
Yeah, and there should be certain rules on that intercontinental belt. For example, you can only fight people from another continent, stuff like that, to make it a little bit more exciting.
To make it genuinely an intercontinental belt, yeah.
Yes, and I think then obviously you've got your regional champions such as European, etc., Pan American. I think that's how it should stay. With one organisation, but it can't be denied that it's drawn major attention. Seeing fighters such as Tyson unify the belts, the unification wars, so to speak, was a major war and pull financially, for the heavyweight division and for other divisions alike. So I think I can understand why there is 4 belts.
And Tyson Fury also now has the Ring Magazine belt that no one was awarded for a while. He now has the Ring Magazine belt, which is yet another one. It confuses the matter more. But I rate the Ring Magazine belt because you can only win it or lose it in the ring unless you retire or move up in weight, I believe.
It's a load of rubbish for me personally.
You don't think that's a good system?
I don't agree with the lineal champion rubbish, and I don't agree with the Ring Magazine belt. If it's gonna be an award such as the Mobo and greatest of all time or whatever, then that's fine. It's just an award, but it's not a title as such. If you know what I mean. I don't see what's that got to do with anything. We can have all of these awards like Best Fight of the Year and all of that, but this lineal thing and all that don't make any sense to me. Okay. You've got the belt or you ain't got the belt. Simple as that. That's just me. I'm not saying.
But belt or
I'm
no.
not speaking for the masses.
Yeah, but belt or no belt, do you think really the public knows who number one is anyway? And if we only regarded one, who's number one at the moment for you?
Fury.
No, without a doubt. Joshua's got more belts. I know we said we don't care about the belts. You think Fury is number one, yeah?
That's what throws the situation, but you can't call... Look, well, he is number one. He's number one. Yeah. He's unbeaten. And this is really interesting, actually. You're bringing me back to the days of my fight in Korea when I was a major advocate I got into some controversy with federations because I said that you've got fighters. I made a point to say to federation heads that they've got the whole ranking system messed up. And when they asked me what do I mean, I said, well, I think they thought I was talking about the ranking as in top 20 rankings, but that's not what I meant. What I meant is you've got the fighters at the bottom of the pile, and you've got the federations at the top, the promoters in the middle, and then we're at the bottom of the respect level, and that doesn't work like that. The general public don't follow the belts; they're following the champions, and they're following who's fighting, and they give respect to that. If Tyson Fury was to hand Jackie all them belts and fight for the Tom and Jerry and Vanilla Ice Cream belt, right? They would be following him on that too. Yeah. And they would still consider him to be the champion. Do you understand? We make the belts. It's the fighters who make the belts. It's not the belts that make the fighter. That's right. And I think a lot of people seem to forget about it. So, if you get my meaning.
Definitely. And some of the belts were more highly regarded than others. The WBO that came later, I didn't realise this, the WBO was not recognised by the other three major sanctioning bodies until 2007. That's why Lennox Lewis was considered undisputed champion when he had the IBF, WBA and WBC. He never had the WBO belt, I don't think. When he had 3 out of 4, that was enough.
Yes, and that's why James Toney didn't really rank Eubanks and Nigel Benn either.
Because they were WBO. It did seem to have a bit of a European bias, the WBO, and it would be a way to promote European fighters and market them as world champions. When Tyson Fury won 3 out of the 4 belts, he had the IBF, WBA and WBO. The WBC belt was the only belt that eluded him at the time, but he obviously was stripped of them. He was stripped of the IBF very quickly after winning it, and it just seems an impossible task to be able to get all the belts around one waist. The Klitschko's at least had all the belts in one family. That was quite an achievement, and they vowed to never face each other. But if we do get a showdown between Joshua and Fury, that will be it. There will be one undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Would your money really be on Fury in that matchup?
It depends on what year it's going to happen. Okay. If it's going to happen this year, I would back Fury.
Do you think sooner the better for him?
Yeah, if it's going to happen end of 2021, or if it's going to happen 22, my money would sway more to AJ. And the reason for that is because he showed he's got the mentality to learn. I doubted that, to be honest with you. I thought he was a slow learner. But in actual fact, how he won back the belt when he fought Ruiz in the second fight showed me that he has the ability to learn. And the more I listen to him and hear him talk on shows, etc., he's showing maturity. I wouldn't say beyond his years, but he is definitely showing maturity, which shows that he can be taught. I don't have that same vibe about Wilder.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have
Wilder, or are we talking Wilder or Joshua now? I'm talking about AJ, not the rematch. We'll come to that in a minute.
I know. What I was saying is AJ has shown me that he's got maturity about him.
Okay, that Wilder doesn't have. Okay, yeah.
Whereas Wilder doesn't show that to me. So I would say give him about a year or two to make that fight with Fury, and AJ will win it. If they're going to force AJ to have the fight this year, I'm not feeling it.
Wow, so AJ's still on the up. He's got age on his side over Fury by maybe a couple of years, I think. They apparently sparred together. Right. I remember watching Fury say, yeah, he sparred me and he roughed me up a little bit. Fury was quite modest about the altercation that he had with...
That's not a good thing.
No, what, to be modest?
No, it's not a good thing to be sparring with somebody, not with a mentality of Fury. If that was me sparring with somebody, there is absolutely, they got two hopes, Bob Hope and no hope.
But this was years ago, I think, Andre, when he was up and coming. Fury was aware of Joshua having shared a ring with him. I mean, a lot of these fighters, I'm sure, understand. Lewis and Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis shared a ring when they were young. They knew each other. I know you've rubbed shoulders with names that everyone would know. The boxing world is actually quite a small world once you get into it. I was saying to you the other day, I was in a boxing gym in Reading, and the posters on the wall were many of them people I'd met or people who I know, someone who knows them. Matt Skelton's name and face was up there. I know you trained with him. Is that right? Or you were in similar circles?
Yes, trained. But what I'm saying is I made a point. I don't spar with people from my weight division.
Really?
Up and down
in case you meet them,
I just don't do it.
In case you meet them down the line?
Yeah, and I deliberately keep my videos offline.
Yeah.
I don't make a habit to put all my fights on video. So... there are some up. I'm not going to say there isn't some up, but I don't make a habit to do that. That's a big point to me. I don't agree with sparring with people that are potentially maybe fighting. It doesn't make any sense to me. And the boxing world does do that.
But if you're the best in the world, I mean,
Scott is a big friend of mine actually, and to be honest with you, I used to always rip into Michael Spot every time I see him. I say, why are you? I don't call it sparring. I call it cannon fodder.
Mm-hmm. But if you're competing at world level, how do you replicate that for training purposes without sparring with world level fighters? Unless you're sparring with people from the weight category above or below.
You do exactly what you just said. Okay. You spar with people from another weight division. So you being a cruiser,
you were sparring with heavies. Is that right?
I would spar with heavies and I would spar with lighter weights. Okay. The lighter weights gave me more trouble.
To replicate the speed, or to deal with some speed. I do think when it comes to sparring, if we're not going full power, the lighter fighter can often give the bigger man trouble because you can use your speed and no one's going to criticise you for it in the gym. But if you start using your power on me, people will say, "Oh, you're a bully. We don't need to use the power in the gym." But then, how close do you get to replicating a real fight situation, or are you saying that only happens on fight night?
No. I can't really speak for my recent preparation for the last 7 years of preparation for fights. I can't really speak about that because it hasn't been perfect. But if we need to go back, if we're going to talk about perfection, we need to go back to the days of old when I was training, when I was defending my British titles, and I just became world champion. And around those times, my training regime was very specific. What I would do, I would train here with people and just to get my up, etc. And then I would go away to camp, which would either be Thailand or Holland or Tenerife, to get my to do my pad work and stuff like that. What I would normally do is train in clubs here with people, like continuous sparring, stuff like this, just to get my technique perfect. But then we would go to what I would call fight camp, which was different, which would be going abroad. And then when I go abroad to the countries I've just mentioned, then I would only deal with heavy sparring. And I'm talking hindsight, I'm not talking now, so please forgive me.
No, sir.
But I would go out at night and, just get into a punch up in one of the clubs.
No way. A street fight?
Yeah.
Just to practice it for real?
Yeah. Obviously, I'd be very polite, but people take, as you well know, people take politeness for weakness, so they would have a go. So I bang 3 of them out, and then I know my techniques are perfect.
You reassure yourself. How do you avoid getting locked up before the fight? Someone have to come and bail you out.
Nobody knows over there. It's Tenerife, isn't it?
It's different, yeah. Lawless society. At what point? I remember you. I want to talk about trainers now, because there's a certain trainer that you always bring in, and I think that's in the latter stages of your training camp. Mr. Ival Denton, who I've had the pleasure of meeting.
No, that's before I go away to Holland or Tenerife or something like that.
And he's your pad man?
Ival Denton is basically that's boot camp when I go with Ival, because Ival is a fitness freak.
Yes.
So it would be repetitive pads and kettlebell training, all of that kind of stuff would go off with it to make sure that I'm fit enough to cope with Holland or Tenerife or what I would call fight camp. So basically there's boot camp, fight camp, and then it'll be the fight.
And have you ever done a Tyson Fury in the sense that you've totally switched it up and say, right, I need a different trainer for this fight? Because Fury left Ben Davison and approached the Kronk gym, who gave him that different style, gave him that knockout style that he'd been looking for, and it seemed to work for him for that fight. Has that ever happened, or are you loyal to one trainer or two trainers? I know you train with several.
I have trained with several, but I don't like the fact, but I have trained with several. I don't like change, to be honest with you, with things like that. I like to find somebody that is, I think somebody should stay with their trainer, but you've got to understand, I come from a martial art background where it's considered loyalty to stay with your gym. Yeah. I know things have changed a lot since MMA has come in, because you have to have a couple of trainers, because obviously stand-up
different
coaches,
disciplines,
different disciplines, right? It's mixed martial arts, isn't it? It's mixed martial arts, as the name says. But I personally don't like change with I like to stay with the same camps. Having said that, in our sport, it's very pure in the sense of the trainer would turn around and say, oh, I can't teach you anything now. I want you to go and train with this guy. That's how it works in Thailand. And they will basically send that fighter to go to somebody else who can continue to work with them. Do you understand? So that's kind of the world I come from. But I have had a few trainers. I've trained with Ernesto Hoost. I've had a few very good trainers in England, and obviously Master Yotong Sin and in Thailand from the Sityodtong camp.
Wow.
So, and I've trained with Andre Zito in France. I've had a few trainers, fight trainers, really. But you got to understand, I'm the first generation Muay Thai fighter to come out of Reading. So I had to go to seek out the skill sets that I needed. in order to progress.
Has anyone else emerged from Reading since? Have you paved the way? Are there any other up-and-coming Muay Thai competitors?
You know, Reading's a funny place. There is
they got a few boxers. You mentioned Michael Sprott. There's a couple of other pro boxers out of Reading that we could mention. But what about Muay Thai?
Reading's a funny place. They've got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of talent in Reading in all the fighting arts. But for some reason, they don't... I don't know if it's the mindset issue, but and I'll be honest with you, I don't blame them, because the road to success and to achieve getting to the highest level is really, really hard.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider Reading a fighting town, so to speak. We don't have the ancestral history with it like Manchester or London does. You know, I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I mean, Reading Boxing Club's been here since, what, the 40s?
Yeah.
And up to now, they've never had a pro of worth, should I say.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of amateurs in this town, but no one's really gotten to that level. It's sad. It's sad to see, to be honest. I mean, I've had a lot of fighters that I've helped coach in Thai boxing, but again, they never really got past the amateur level. They ended up, I'm settling down. I want to give up. I'm going to go away for a job. I'm going to do... I mean, I lost a lot of students to the army as well, to be honest with you. A lot joined the Marines during the Iraq War and Afghan and stuff like that. So it was just hard, basically. Nobody can seem to stick to it, and life pressures. And I actually think it's going to be harder to breed champions now than it ever was because of the life's pressures. Well, it seems to be tenfold.
Have we got it too easy now? Poverty used to be breed champions, and the toughest fighters always came out of the ghetto areas, whether it's in America or Europe. Have people got it too easy now? Would they rather go and mug someone than learn a martial art or boxing? Is that the problem?
I don't know. It's a question that bugs me. I'm not too sure that we've got it too easy. I just don't think... I wouldn't say too easy. I would say we haven't got any guidance now.
Guidance,
for the youth. I think that's a major thing. I wouldn't say it's too easy. I mean, I don't know. Jules, that's a hard one. I wouldn't say it's too easy. I think life is still hard now. But I think back in my day, you could have a punch up on the street and go home and shake hands, and that was it. Nowadays, getting a punch up on the street...
You have to go to Tenerife for that sort of thing.
Yeah, you got to go to Tenerife. You got to go to Tenerife. Yeah, definitely.
Their sales will be through the roof. I just want to ask you about, again, training with different trainers. Do you think there's benefit from training with different trainers or in different clubs in that you will learn something new, you'll learn a different style, and you're just adding to the repertoire, and then you can see what works for you? There's got to be an argument for that, right?
100%, you're right, but it depends on the individual. Sometimes cross-training like that for the same art. I'm not talking MMA, where you're going to one for jiu-jitsu, one for judo, one for kickboxing, but cross-training with trainers in the same art can ruin your footwork. It can ruin your striking sense. A lot of coaches out there, I've had it when fighters have come to me and they're southpaw.
Right.
They turn around and said, I find it hard to fight like this with, in an orthodox stance. Because a lot of trainers don't like southpaw trainers. I mean, I think things have changed now.
For people that don't know, southpaw is a left-hander who jabs with their right hand and throws the hard shot with the left. Are you saying that you train people to fight from an orthodox stance?
No, I'm saying other coaches will change all the southpaws to fight in an orthodox stance because they have too many fighters in the gym and they can't,
they don't have time to mess about. Yeah.
They don't have time to mess up. I'm not saying it's like that now, but I'm saying it used to be like that. A lot of people didn't like that. They had a lot of the old school gyms were funny like that. Me personally, I love southpaw. I love variety, so I don't have a problem with that.
And you're an orthodox fighter. You're right-handed, correct?
No, I'm only dexterous.
You're a switch hitter.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. But a lot of my fights would be orthodox because I adapt to the fighter that I'm with.
Okay.
But I don't have a problem fighting. So, in fact, I won my first pro British title fighting a knockout specialist called Marvin Leeson by switching southpaw.
Really?
And that shocked him with that one. I think it threw him because I wasn't known as a southpaw fighter. Wow. But I did exactly that.
Wow.
And I won that southpaw. I'm very comfortable. And because I've done that and I understand southpaws, I've actually won 3 titles off of southpaw fighters.
So you're not afraid of the southpaw jinx? You know how to deal with one?
As far as I'm concerned.
No, but it's just the advantage of southpaw, and I am predominantly southpaw when I box and even in the MMA stance. It's that we're rare and people don't encounter us as much as right-handers. But if you're ready for it and you know what to do, like quite a few fights that I've had, whether it's even amateur K1 or MMA, I have begun the fight from an orthodox stance, even if it's just for the first 10 seconds, just to give him that surprise when I switch my feet, just to really capitalise on the advantage. So not only is it an advantage, it's a surprise, and he doesn't have time. His corner might clock me warming up and say, look, he's a southpaw, you're going to have to move to the other side, you're going to have to throw right hands. So just to gain that little advantage, I began commencing the fight from an orthodox stance and then switching. But obviously people that like yourself, someone will have done their homework on you and tried to find the videos online. You can't keep it a secret after winning world titles of which stance you fight out of. But what are the other little...
stance thing doesn't really...
Give us another little tip. What is another advantage you can have over a fighter, like a little gimmick, or without giving too much away? Are there any little tricks that an old pro would know that amateurs might not know?
You have to give me a scenario.
Well, I'm thinking... for one example would be the switch hitting, or maybe some kind of like, here's another one Ricky Hatton used to say, is when you're clinching, the referee will say break, and you have to break and then wait till he signals you on. But he would clinch up, then step back of his own accord, and the fighter would sort of feel like it's as if the referee has ordered it. And then they drop their hands. Another thing that I've sort of pulled, I mean, these are tricks that might work against an amateur. Some people are very heavy breathing when they punch. In Thailand, do they train you to breathe out as you punch? Like, some people tend to make a noise. Or even, I've heard guys say, oi, oi, like as they're hitting me, to sort of simulate the crowd or something, and it can be quite disorientating. What is that all about?
I don't know about the crowd thing, but it's to make sure that your breathing is in one with your punching. So basically, it's chi energy. So you release, so you're breathing correctly with your shot.
Yes.
I'm not too sure about imitating the crowd, but
maybe I'm right. I'm familiar with boxers breathing through the nose, or oof, or some people even make a very sort of guttural noise, especially when they're throwing the body shots. I know Hatton did, again, to go back to Ricky Hatton. But I've trained with guys that have been exposed to the Thai culture, and they do this sort of oi, oi, as they're punching. But as you say, it's to keep the breath and the exertion together, right? We should breathe out even when you're lifting weights, when you push, you breathe out. Yes.
It's to imitate that, and it helps you with your breathing and making sure that you're everything's in one. Yeah, it's not to do with the crowd.
Okay, it's not to do with the crowd, but also when they compete in Thailand, they have the music as well, right? That accompanies the fight. Sometimes.
That's correct.
And the fight will often even follow the rhythm of the music, and they'll trade blow for blow. You kick, I kick. It almost looks like they're taking turns. But is this a way of fighters sussing each other out or seeing who's going to drop? Is there an element of bravado where they're showing not only can they throw a kick, that they can take a kick? I know your last opponent couldn't take one. You got him out with a leg kick.
Leg block, actually.
A leg block, okay. Yeah, there you go. So a block could be as lethal as a kick.
No, actually, that's not 100% right. What I done is I threw a kick and he walked into it.
Okay.
But with regards to the music, it's a funny thing. When I had 7 fights before I went to Thailand.
Yeah.
And the music, I couldn't understand it. I just couldn't understand the music. But after spending a period of time in Thailand training at the camp, it got to the stage that you start to, the music was explained to me.
Yeah.
And the music is very, very specific for Muay Thai. You've got the flute, the cymbals, you know, the drum. And each one of these instruments, you as a Thai fighter is supposed to dissect them and pick. They're both at three different tempos.
Okay.
And you pick a tempo and you stick to that throughout the round. And then you use it as gears to go up and down in the rounds as the fight goes on. And then the climatic rounds, the chop churn in the last rounds, what happens then is that it goes, you put all 3 instruments together and you bounce from instrument to instrument with your tempo of your fight.
Wow. But will that give your opponent an advantage? Will he be reading you and saying, right, I know his tempo now?
No, because he's already in his own tempo.
Okay.
So what will happen is it will then gauge. You might be in gear 1, you know, fighting at a slow pace, and then what will happen is it will pick up as we go on, you know, and he will pick up. So it's a way of focus. That's why if you watch Thai fighters, they always seem like they've got another level of focus. The fight, you know, and it's basically the music's your friend. Basically, it's not, you know, it's not there to put you off. It's there to encourage you with it. You don't need the ref to tell you to pick up the pace. You know automatically because of the music.
Wow.
And in Thailand, remember, they play it live.
Yeah.
So the doom, 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 go with it as the fight's going on, you know?
And is that for entertainment value? Is the most efficient way to fight following that rhythm? And I mean, let's say we translate it into a street fight scenario or a self-defense scenario in Tenerife or wherever. When you don't have that, how can you tap into that when it's time to go at the drop of a hat? Or is it just sort of in the subconscious conscience?
It comes with experience. I mean, I can fight without the music now, but you automatically, it's subliminal programming. So you kind of know what to expect. When you're going into your first few fights, you kind of know what to expect. But then what happens is you get to a level where it's just natural. You're just natural with it. It's like I don't suffer with fear when it comes to fights. Now it's just a natural situation. When you've had 40-odd pro fights, that's what happens. You know, this is why I think as well. What one of the problems is having. I don't believe a fighter knows everything before he's had 10 fights. You have to have a minimum of 10 fights to actually understand the fight game. I think to have less than that is you're missing out on something. There's a level of, I was having a discussion with somebody the other day. There's a level, remember on my last fight, I had one of my fighters, students fighting on the same show.
I remember. Yeah.
I only had 10 minutes between getting him in. It was a mess up.
Right.
There was a cock
up.
I
remember.
Before I had to get in.
Yeah.
And it wasn't it wasn't the same nerves that my fighter was suffering with, right? Because he's a rookie, so it wasn't the same nerves. It was a situation of right, just get in there and get on with it. And as soon as I meditated and got into that zone, I was in the ring.
Even having such a long time out, because you'd come back after quite a break, right?
That's more nervous. That's more nervous than fighting on a regular. But it's still, there's a maturity with it because you've been there, seen it and done it already. It's not as bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't compare being out the ring for a while with going in the ring for the first time or the second time or the third time. You just can't compare the two. Being out the ring for a time means ring rust. But because of the preparation for the fight, you know what to expect. He's only going to throw a right hand cross. He's only going to throw a kick. He's only going to throw a knee. He's only going to throw an elbow. You know what's going to happen, and you know what to expect when it connects. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's not the same as having 2 or 3 fights and saying to somebody, oh, he's only going to throw a kick, he's only going to throw a punch. You can't say that to a rookie because a rookie will always believe that the person they're about to fight will hit harder than they will, and what's going to happen, and am I going to show myself in front of my mum, my dad, my sister, my girl? Do you understand? It's a different scenario. I don't feel that pressure.
What do you say to people that are in that position?
I just don't feel that kind of pressure.
There's more, watching this, there's probably more beginners than world champions, I'd imagine, in the world. What do you say to the beginner that is worried about getting in the ring or is suffering from nerves?
Can I backtrack a little bit with the beginner?
Yeah, go on.
Right. I think one of the major issues we have with fighters today, especially in the Reading area or wherever, is that they're not paying attention and vetting the camp that they're joining with. If they're going to enter into the same mentality about what I'm saying about sticking with your trainer, like how AJ does, right? I believe you need to vet you have to feel, you have to bond with that person, but to be able to bond with them, you have to you need to vet them. You need to interview them, so to speak, right, and feel comfortable that you're joining the right place. You can't just join the gym because it's just down the road. And I think a lot of people always penny pinching or whatever. So what they do, they say, oh, well, that gym just down the road, let me go and join the local gym, blah, blah. The local gym might not be the right gym for them.
Yeah.
So once that situation, right, then it's about the trainer bonding with you. And in Thai boxing, we call that yacht crew.
Yeah, crew being teacher, right?
Yes. Right? So, you know, and you have to have that, it's like an acceptance of the teacher, right? So you have to have that. That's phase 2. Once you've got that bonding, the fight game is half done, because you then say, right, I put my trust and faith into this trainer, and I believe what he's telling me. And you will know through the training process that you can believe what he's telling you because he doesn't lie. Yeah. And once you've gone past that phase, it's basically a bullying situation within the ring, in the sense of it's not you in there with another fighter now. It's you and your trainer in there with another fighter. It's 2 against 1.
Yeah, and you're following his instructions or her. They're leading you into battle. Yeah.
Yeah, following it to a T, and then then you've automatically got in there with a situation. It's not about you suffering fear. It's about you recognizing that this guy is suffering with the same fear that your belly is telling you to suffer with. Yeah. But you know it's 2 against 1. And my trainer is a world champion, and my trainer has had 40 odd fights, and my trainer is a bad man. So blah 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 blah, and then basically you'll see the confidence brimming off the fighter, and that's your job done straight away. What I would say is, to vet for the rookie, vet your gym, right? Dedicate to that gym, and vet your gym. Let the trainer confirm that they want to train you, and then stay dedicated to that gym. And I don't see that's half your job done. Definitely. You know, it should be a win-win.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, let's just reflect a little bit on the match, because I've got questions in the comments, if that's all right. Some Ammar Hussein is saying Wilder came in too heavy. Do you think weight was a factor in this fight? They both came in heavier than last time. And heavyweight, there's no weight limit. There's no weight limit. Obviously, when you fought, you had to hit a certain limit, and making weight is a whole other science in itself. But for this fight, was being heavier an advantage?
Officially, there's no weight limit in the heavyweight division, but that's not what you gauge it towards. You gauge it towards what you feel comfortable to fight at, and what you can do. What you can do 15 to 20 rounds at.
I think Wilder is probably better around the 220 mark, right? And even AJ slimmed down for his last fight. Sometimes being slimmer and faster might be an advantage. If you are naturally 270 pounds and you can lean on a guy and make it work, then great. But if you're naturally 230 and you blow up to 250, it's not good, right?
What did Wilder say about the weight? Did he say he was too heavy?
Well, he made every excuse going, but I don't think he mentioned the weight. He said his suit was too heavy walking in. But
I don't think he was too heavy. I don't think he was too heavy at all. I don't think the weight was a problem at all, to be honest with you. He was outskilled, outgunned, and that's what happened. I think
Tyson Fury beats him 9 times out of 10 most nights. We know that he can land that one shot, but he just couldn't find it that night.
Not against the mindset. He's not fighting a boxer. He's fighting a mind now. He's fighting a boxer who has a brain. And, you know, we all know when you're playing chess, if you're going to go up against, you know, the schoolboys from the local school, it's not a problem. But as soon as you start playing the chess master from Russia or everywhere else, you've got a problem. And that's what's basically happened. I don't think the weight was a problem. That's personally me. I haven't heard any excuses by him about the weight. I heard about the shorts, etc., etc. I just think, like I said earlier, I don't think he's got the, no disrespect, but I don't think he has the technological mind for the game like that. I think his right hand's become a curse in the sense of that's all he's ever needed.
Yes, that's right. And when he can't rely on it, he's got nothing else. Let's have a little look at the technique. A lot of Fury's shots, it seemed to me, were range finders. When he was finishing him off in that corner, he wasn't even connecting with the jab. He was just sort of pulling it out there as a distraction and then nailing him with the right hand. I don't know if you noticed that. Fury, he was sort of throwing these range-finding shots. His reach is apparently not that much more than Wilder's, but he made so much more use of it than Wilder ever could. And Cool in the comments is saying, I like the way Tyson ducks under the big right hand. Yeah, head movement. But like Fury, as much as I like the guy and enjoy watching him, he's not as enjoyable to watch as some other fighters. Maybe he's not enjoyable to box against either, because he's sort of unpredictable and it almost looks like he never gets going. He has a little exchange and then he ends up sort of smothering the guy, putting his weight on him, and then they go at it again. But maybe that is the way to do it. Maybe that's the way to dominate at heavyweight.
Let's be clear on this.
Yeah.
He is the number one heavyweight at the moment in my books.
Yeah.
Okay? But let's be also clear on this. AJ is the poster boy for boxing.
And why is that?
The way he fights, even when his combinations start throwing, it reminds me of days of old. You know, he when he starts throwing and trading, that's what people want to see. They want to see a punch up. They're paying for a punch up, right? You know, I've had this in my sport, and I've seen this in kickboxing and stuff like that. There's certain fighters out there that have mastered the art of hitting without getting hit, right? And they're not. I don't think that they're not that exciting as much as the two fighters that stand toe to toe. You want to see toe to toe.
I think a lot of people say that MMA is not as exciting as K1. That's why people like Dave O'Donnell, who put on UC MMA, make sure they include a few K1 fights like yourself to keep the night interesting. So it's not just two guys who roll around on the floor, because you can get a bit of a stalemate if MMA goes to the ground.
I've heard fight fans say that. I've heard my fight fans say, "I don't like that." Yeah. But obviously, me coming from a judo background, I respect.
You can appreciate it. Yeah.
I find it. Yeah, I appreciate. There's a lot going on that floor.
Yeah. If you know what you're looking for.
But for the general fans, they don't. You are right. They prefer a toe-to-toe stand-up. Yeah.
Yeah. In the comments, KO Modo is saying, when Wilder's pressured, he becomes awkward and off balance. Yeah, and we haven't seen him pressured much because people have been too fearful of his right hand. What level or what factor was bravery in that Fury just wasn't afraid of the right hand? Was that why he was able to stand in front of him?
Bravery, is that the right word to use?
Or maybe self-belief. Knowing that he got up off the floor from his biggest shot. That's got to give you some kind of confidence or self-belief.
It does, and when I was watching interviews on him prior to this fight, I realised his mindset is actually frightening.
His mindset?
In the sense of its Fury's.
Yeah.
Fury's mindset is serious. He actually believes in what he's doing. And you know something? The fact that he was on death's door, suicide's door, and he's come back to this is another frightening thing, because how can I put it? You know he's capable of anything, and now he's putting all his focus into the fact of winning, and he believes. I don't know if it's brave. Obviously he's brave. The two of them are brave, but I think it's his mindset which is the most scariest thing. Yeah.
And I think he's a great example to show people how you can come back from mental health issues. I think the sad thing is that if he didn't have boxing, and you said it before, some people go to therapy. My therapy is the gym. If he didn't have this, he might be in a very, very bad place. And I don't know I hope his journey will help him overcome when he finally hangs up the gloves.
Jules, I'm worried about him when he hands up the gloves. Yeah. Once he's beaten, I was saying this to somebody a little while back, but once if he beats AJ, I think he needs to switch over and go to the kickboxing world.
Do you reckon
and try to win? I think potentially he could. I've seen him kick.
Yeah,
he has been doing kickboxing.
I remember years ago, Fury was.
He's actually quite tasty.
He was ready to have a kickboxing match, I think, in Romania, and it never happened. But I did hear rumours of that being planned. Did you hear that?
He has to do it, because if he doesn't, he'll self-destruct, because he needs a new challenge. That's how serious. This guy can't retire, and I don't know what he's going to do when he hits 50 or 40 or whatever. I don't know what he's going to do, because I can't. He needs therapy, because once he's won these belts, something needs to show. He needs to open up a new door, like start golf or do something like that. Or go. Or something. He's going to have to find something to take up his time, because his brain is too.
He's highly strung. Maybe he's highly strung. In the chat, Cool is saying Fury will go into WWE wrestling. He's already dabbled in that a little bit. And KO Modo is saying most travellers are fighting from birth. I don't know any other community as tough.
Yeah, he's right. I agree.
And Cool also says
the WWE. The WWE. I'm not so sure. I don't know if that was just a little mess about thing. I can't. It's not about what he's going to go into. It's about what's going to occupy his brain.
Yeah.
I don't think the WWE is challenging enough for his brain.
No, maybe not. A lot of these great athletes struggle to fill the void after they finish a sport they've been competing in for 20 or 30 years. And there is a fine line between genius and madness. Often I think people that are that dedicated to a sport must have an addictive personality. They must be addicted to training. I don't know if you would use that word yourself. Were you ever addicted to training? But how else can you get to such a high level, world level? And if you can be addicted to training, presumably you can be addicted to other things. And with the fame comes money, and with all that, you're exposed to drugs and the rest of it. How do you? I mean, you said before you before you get in the ring, you meditate. So obviously you've got a strong spiritual connection. So does Tyson Fury. He prays before he gets in the ring. I would hope his faith would keep him out of trouble, and I think it did keep him from committing suicide at the last minute. But we need something to cling to, especially if we're this type of individual.
Yeah. I don't know what he's gonna. I don't know what he's gonna cling to. Though. I mean, for me, I've got a life outside boxing. So in my early days, it was everything. Yeah. But then other things creep in, and I'm happy whether I fight or I don't fight.
Okay.
But when I look at people like Bruno or Ricky Hatton or Joe Kawasaki, all the fighters have fallen off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Bruno's still obsessively training, even at his age. Apparently, he just doesn't know how to switch off.
Yeah, we need to address this. Actually, I might do something about this later. But we need to address this, right? Where the fighters. I might need to speak to trainers about this, where basically the fighters, we say, right, okay, your cut-off point for fights will be roughly around the 35 years mark.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, you need to start to slowly gauge yourself to become a trainer, and then from a trainer, break off and find another hobby, get into this or do something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think it is they lose a fight, they lose 2 fights, or they get an injury, and they say, okay, the injury will stop their career dead short, and there's nothing to fill that void, and that's when PTSD kicks in.
Yeah. Post-traumatic stress disorder. In the comments, KO Modo is saying, throw boxing licenses at the British traveller community and they'll dominate boxing, in my opinion. Travellers have always been associated with boxing. We know they've been doing it all their lives, in some cases bare knuckle. We're seeing some champions come through. There's Billy Joe Saunders. Tyson Fury, I think, is the first professional heavyweight champion from a traveller background in the Queensberry rules. I'm sure there's been bare knuckle champions. Why do you think it's taken time for that community so steeped in boxing to get world level championship belts? Obviously, the black community in the United Kingdom, Caribbean and African have had fair share of most of the British champions, heavyweight champions. Bruno, I think, would he be Caribbean background? I know AJ's Nigerian background.
Jamaican.
Yeah. Henry Akinwande is another world champ. I think he might have been a WBO champion. He's Nigerian background, I think. So the few that have been world level, Lennox Lewis, although Canadian, also Jamaican background. This immigrant community have had their fair share of world title holders. We've got one traveller now. I wonder why it's taken so long.
It's not that it's taken so long. You go to any boxing gym and you'll find travellers in there training. It's not that it's taken so long. They have the facilities and they have the skills to pay the bills. It's right.
Well, in the chat, yeah, go on.
You don't need to throw. No, but you don't need to throw. It's not a case of throw pro belts.
Boxing licenses. Well, is it that they're fighting bare knuckle elsewhere and not pro?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Is it that they are more drawn to the bare knuckle affair rather than the Queensberry rules?
I think yes, to a degree, yes, because they automatically earn money from it.
Okay, and yes, okay, I get it. Yeah, Kayomodo's adding, I think the authorities are reluctant to give travellers licences because they are unruly. Yeah, they're certainly perceived
He's definitely got a point with that. Tell him well done for that. He's definitely got a point for that.
Thank you, Kayomodo. You're getting kudos from Andre.
I've been on shows where they've lost the decision and all that, and they've caused a punch up.
Okay.
So they have been unruly in the past. Okay. That's without a doubt.
Okay.
But I wouldn't. they can go down the route as just the best as anybody else and go and get a pro license. You know, it's not that they can't. If you can prove that you can box and you can defend yourself in the ring, they'll give you a boxing license. It's not hard.
I've heard some travellers might not even have a birth certificate. So if you're off the record, it might be difficult to get a license of any type. But yeah, they're a community that have been put to the sidelines over the years, but definitely there's a lot of talented boxers in that community. You must know Tony Giles. I think he was he on the last show that you fought at?
Yes. Did you say, was he on fighting?
No, I think he was there. I remember seeing him there in the dressing room. If he wasn't competing. Yeah. How many travellers are competing in MMA or K1? Is there the same? Are they making the transition from boxing or bare knuckle boxing?
I can't tell you the numbers, but I know Tony Giles is a traveller.
Yeah.
There's a few that are fighting. I don't know about the numbers, but there are a few fighting.
They're present.
It's the fight game, so they have to be in it.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, look, Andre, I'm always scared to ask you too many questions. I'll let you. I'll let you do that because you got so many ideas, and there's so off air we talk about many things, and I always appreciate a chat with you. There are so many things in the pipeline. I'm going to ask you an open question. Is there anything you'd like to share with us? And if there's not, I will just keep my mouth shut. But safe to say, you have a lot of projects to watch out for.
Yes.
All right. That's all we're going to say, yeah? Go on. And it's nothing illegal, by the way, before anyone gets it twisted.
Not.
Yeah.
No. But there are a lot of things, but we're planning, and you know you're part of those plans. So, we just have to wait. Basically, it's just a waiting game, and we'll see how things go.
Yeah.
Some things happen, some things won't happen. We just sit by and see where it's going. But needless to say, all I can say is there is travelling involved.
Okay. Travelling or travellers?
Or travelling.
Or both. Okay, very good. Travelling.
Yeah, as you all know, so we'll see how that pans out. But yes, watch this space.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Andre, if there's nothing else you want to share, then I'm going to thank you for your time.
No problem, my friend.
Really appreciate it. Lovely. Thank you. We'll catch up soon. All right. Have a good night.
We will do, mate.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. There goes Andre McIntyre. Yeah, watch this space for his next movements. And if you go through the history on this channel, videos uploaded about a year ago covering Andre McIntyre's last competitive fight at UC MMA. Oh, I've got the flyer for it somewhere. UC MMA 30 or something like that, promoted by Dave O'Donnell. Well, this has been Lessons for Life. We've been around the houses and covered many topics aside from just the fight. But once again, congratulations to Tyson Fury. I was absolutely made up the night that he won that belt. I think it was a great night for British boxing, for world boxing, for people of Irish traveller heritage, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I think it will go the same way again. I think he's got Wilder's number, and then we can look forward to the showdown to have all the belts around one waist, and that's if Anthony Joshua can get past Kubrat Pulev, his next challenger, the Bulgarian. So this has been Lessons for Life on your Wednesday night phone-in. Thank you for contributing, everyone in the chat. Sorry if I didn't read your message out. And thank you again to Andre McIntyre for joining me. Always a pleasure to have him on board. And we will do it all again soon, in a different time, in a different place. We were here, and we're gone. Latest.